Hey guys, welcome. Kim Marshall here. We're back on Instagram Live. I'm co-founder of Swell Public Relations and your host of these regular Instagram Lives for the Global Wellness Summit, as well as the Global Wellness Summit podcast. Now, we are less than 2 weeks away from the Global Wellness Summit that's being held in person at Palm Beach at the Breakers, the gorgeous Oceanfront Breakers Resort. And also there's a virtual package. So this is a historic year. We all know that. And so it is fitting that one of our last Leader Livecasts leading up to the summit is with a representative of a sector of the wellness economy, the $4.5 trillion wellness economy, that is crucial during this shutdown. It has been hit one of the hardest. It's spas at hotels and resorts. And we're going to be joined by Jessica Shea, who is the Senior Director of Spa and Fitness Operations over the Americas. You know what? I think Jessica is already there. Let's just see. Yay, she's there. Let's see if I can connect. Send requests. Doing it. There's so much, the hospitality industry, travel. Hey, Jess.
Hi.
I'm so proud of you.
How are you?
Your first IG Live.
I did it, and I'm facing the right way and everything. It's so exciting.
I am just changing it up. I put a plant beside my head, so we'll see what happens there. We'll see. But Jess, I was saying how important it is and how appropriate that right before the summit, about 2 weeks before the summit, we talk about spas and fitness, right? And the huge impact that a Hilton operations has had on the world. Just to review, spas make up 119 billion of the wellness bubble, and fitness and mind body makes up $595 billion worth of the wellness economy. I don't know what to do about the phone ringing. That's life. That is life. There's nothing we can do. But tell us your job, Jess, and who you're responsible for, who's under your purvey.
Sure. Thanks, Kim, and thanks again for having me. I'm happy to be here to share with everybody. So I oversee wellness strategy as well as the spa and fitness operations for Hilton in the Americas. I've been in the role for about 2 years, joined Hilton about 4 years ago, was doing global brand strategy before that. And I love my job because my main focus is really supporting our spa leaders. We have about 35 spas in the Americas that we manage. So this is a managed role. And so, supporting them on the ground, but also developing tools, resources, programs that are going to help their businesses thrive and, help create great experiences for our guests. So that involves really connecting them to the enterprise that is Hilton and all the power that has. Playing a commercial role in supporting them, focusing on our future growth and opening of properties, and then also just looking holistically at what wellness means to Hilton moving forward.
Well, I remember the first time we really talked, we were working on a project, I guess it's the Arizona Biltmore with my partner, Darlene Fisk, and you're in ops, right? So I heard you talking, I was like, how does an ops person know marketing so much? What is happening here? Am I in a twilight zone? But let's talk a little bit about specific properties that are under your purvey to make people dream. We know the Arizona Biltmore, Hotel Dell in San Diego, which is a landmark. I am a hotel lover, and that haunted tower, that, decades of history, and it's a landmark for the whole city. Tell me some other ones besides the one in Beverly Hills that I love.
Sure. So just a note on the Dell, they just, during COVID, actually, the timing for them worked out well in that the hotel is undergoing a major renovation and the spa as well. And so they opened the new spa in September to fantastic demand, both from the locals and the hotel guests. And it's been really an interesting study to see a renovated or new spa open under these conditions and what that means operationally. Yeah. Which actually, knock on wood, has been going incredibly well. They have a fantastic director there, Michelle Fry, who's been amazing. And also just guest response and when guests are wanting to come and what treatments they're asking for. All of that it's been great, and it's been kind of something that we look at to see what's happening, in the field and moving forward. We also
so let me interrupt you because that begs the question. We have our COVID questions we're going to ask you, but let's get right to the nitty gritty. What are some of the things guests are demanding there, and how are they, or interested in, and how are they keeping guests safe there?
Sure. And I can speak about that a little bit broadly across a few more of our resorts as well. Waldorf Park City comes to mind. Waldorf Orlando just opened. So we have quite a few spas that are open. And I think we looked at it in a few ways. We wanted to open safely, we wanted to open profitably, and we wanted to open in a way that was going to elevate guest experience given some of the restrictions that were put on the operation. And from a safety perspective, one of the main things we really pushed for was temperature checks. So, some hotels are doing them, some aren't, but we required that all spas do temperature checks for both team members and guests. And the main reason for that was we understand that the guest experience really comes down to what you feel in that room with that provider. And, largely, there's lots of other things that come into play, but let's, really what it's all about. And especially now when massage is a huge part of what people are requesting, wanted to make sure that everybody felt as safe as possible, because that's just foundational, right? Like if you don't feel safe, if the therapist doesn't feel confident, like what's the point? It's going to be a very different experience. So that was really important to us, for the amounts of control we can actually have. We wanted to make sure we exerted them and, heighten the guest comfort and the therapist comfort as much as possible. So that was paramount to reopening. And then of course there's PPE, there's face coverings and face shields and physical distancing and all of those things you would expect happening in the spas.
Just tell me if you guys have adapted your equipment at all. We talked to Jim Cheneve and they made that shield, which I'll tell you, the first massage I had post-COVID, I was so in need. I was like this hungry animal, like, please help me. But I was so scared because it was just my mask and her mask as she was looking over me. But that shield, have you gotten any of those shields? Or
Yeah, we have been using the shields. There's a couple of great companies out there making them. Guests respond really well to them. We haven't required the shield so much on the beds in the spas. We've left it up to the team comfort. A lot of them are electing to do it. We've also found the shields really useful from a business perspective. I'll give you an example. In Park City, we have a large membership base and regular usage of the spa. And when they first opened, they were able to use 2 physically distanced pedicure stations, and that worked out. But demand was so strong, and they knew they needed more pedicure stations. So we put plexi shields between the pedicure stations so that we could accommodate more guests at once. So there's both kind of safety considerations, and then how do we safely optimize some of the capacity restrictions that are there given the physical distance requirements, et cetera. So it's really been a balancing act. And I think one of the big things is making sure that the luxury level of experience that we're delivering to the guests is still there. Because, for example, we still have not opened steam and sauna facilities, and that's something we're watching closely and thinking about closely. And we want guests to have that experience, but we want to be confident that we're doing it as safely as possible. So with some of those amenities closed, how do we still give our guests a really memorable experience? And our teams have come up with some real creative ways to do that. I think about the Waldorf in New Orleans. They have a wonderful rooftop pool that previously was mostly just for hotel guests. Now, due to capacity restrictions in hotels, there's an opportunity for spa day guests, local guests, to come in and use the spa, as well as they get access to the rooftop pool and a glass of champagne. So
why not, man? You got me. Take me there. Now, we just want to tell you that we have so many nice listeners. Hello, everybody. European Spa Magazine said demand for massage in Europe is very high. We interviewed, I keep saying this, but David Harry Stewart from Aegis, and he said, if you're not in the wellness business now, you're not in business. So as much as we've been hurt by the shutdown, adaptation, whatever, we also are sitting in the right space. So I heard you on a We Work Well call with the brilliant Lisa Starr moderating. And she was like, how does the spa industry adapt? So just how have you guys, besides the equipment, tell me more about adaptation, how you've done it.
I think it's really interesting, especially from the hospitality and hotel perspective. I think, as the hotel industry has just been, really, really devastated by this. And we've had to really look at our business from a hotel perspective, but more so from a wellness perspective, and how that all intertwines and integrates moving forward. I think the silver lining, as you say, is that if people are going to travel, they want it to be good for their health. They want it to be memorable. They want it to be worth it, financially, time-wise, health-wise. And so we have a captive audience of what I call well-minded travelers. Wow. That I think are going to be looking for opportunities to boost immunity, improve their health, do it safely, leave their vacation or their work trip feeling better than when they went on it more than ever. So how are we going to, service that demand, capitalize on the opportunity, and push wellness, as all of us wellness people in spas and hotels have advocated, push wellness beyond the four walls of a spa or fitness center, recreational opportunities, outdoor activities, these kind of what we thought of as sort of amenities in the past in hotels are really rising to the forefront of consciousness, because they're the experiences that the guests want, especially now that we know we're in a kind of leisure-led recovery. Staycations to drive up markets is what is leading the charge in hotel recovery. So how are we going to give people those stellar experiences that they want safely, knowing that it's more important to them than ever?
Well, I will also say that, if you're not a hotelier and you're not a spa person, Johnny Q Public, I've had people ask me, but, do you really think hotels are clean? I mean, how do we know they're really clean? I said, are you kidding me? This is their livelihood. And then I read on your website that you guys have partnered with Lysol. You also partner with the Mayo Clinic to develop enhanced cleaning standards. I mean, you have to take it seriously because it's an enclosed room, right?
Yes. And look, hotels were largely clean before. I mean, spas were very clean before. It's elevating those standards and being mindful of what the physical distancing requirements are and things like this. Yeah, at Hilton, we launched a program called Clean Stay in partnership with Lysol, as you mentioned, that really just gives hotels even more tools to reinforce the procedures they had in place before, and give guests, as I mentioned about spa, that comfort. I've stayed in hotels. I've stayed in our hotels very comfortably, very confidently. I think obviously I'm not going to want to be in a super crowded lobby with hundreds of people for a long time, but that's not what's happening out there, So when you're in your hotel room, when you're on property, it's invigorating. It feels so good to be doing something somewhat normal. Let me tell you, it's really inspiring. And to see what the teams have done in these hotels is absolutely amazing. With the quickness they had to respond, and the changes they've had to overcome, and the resources that in some cases haven't been there. It's really, really inspiring.
Now, I took a flight last week for the first time. I was terrified. I said to my son, get me a shield. I can't find any in the drugstore. I need a mask and a face shield. I was so neurotic. And I get to the check-in counter at Southwest, and she goes, oh, please don't be worried, because I've watched them clean. They wipe the walls down every time. I mean, this could be the cleanest time to ever travel. Okay, then comes all the other worries about, are we too clean? What's in our immune system? But, Jessica, building around resilience during COVID, I looked at your background, and I mean, really and truly, you worked at the Grand Hyatt Bangkok. You were at Hyatt Hotels, Thailand, director of spas for all of Thailand. And then where were you before that? Let's see, Hyatt Regency Lake Tahoe. You worked also at a day spa, right? And a salon.
Yeah.
No wonder you know ops. So how have all these, coming up the ranks and working at different forms of wellness service, what has it taught you about now?
Well, as you mentioned, I started my career with my family's 3-chair salon, sweeping hair, answering phones in one of those old appointment books when I was 13, and probably legally should not have been working. And so I learned by being there, and I honestly never really thought that this was going to be my career path, but I fell in love with my wellness family in the industry. And you know, what we can do for people is so incredibly powerful. And I think that this time, for all the things that are horrible about it, there is some, you know, lights of hope and some good practices and learnings. I think, you know, having to be isolated and having to be a little bit more insular and having to, you know, really focus on kind of self-care and getting through. I think there's practices people have developed, you know, through this crisis that are going to, you know, lead the charge for what we have to accommodate out in the more, you know, commercial world moving forward. And for me, this has always been about how we make people feel. You know, they come into our spas stressed sometimes. We don't know what's going on in their lives. And I saw this with my stepfather dealing with women in his hairstyling chair over and over and over again, that they came in there one way and they left another.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I always felt that that's kind of our contribution to the world, making it a little bit of a better place, because people leave our spaces happier, hopefully kinder, and with some consciousness that's gonna get us through all these crazy things that are going on.
Yeah, and you know, let's also think about the other side of that equation. We could not make people feel better without the therapist. And the U.S. Travel Association said that even though 11% of people were laid off, a full 40% were from, of that was from the hotel industry or the travel industry. So we know that they've been hit hard. I also heard something shocking. I have to justify that number, but I can share on social media the article that's powerful. But, you know, I've been so surprised that it's hard to find therapists now. I've heard that from a few sources. So tell me, what's the situation that you've seen with therapists?
You know, for us, it's been a real mix. And I think largely we have a lot of therapists that wanted to come back to work. I mean, I don't want to, you know, promote my company too much, but it is the #1 best place to work. It is a fantastic company to work for, has been incredibly supportive through this time, really putting team members' well-being first, and security first. And I think that appeal has kept a connection and a loyalty with a lot of our team that has been very excited to come back to work. I think what we have found in the cases where we have had issues is when there's personal challenges that, you know, prevent them from coming back or make it a little bit scary, whether it be having kids at home or, you know, somebody with a immunocompromised, or, you know, it's been really personal situations. Largely getting back into their craft has not been what has put the therapist off. You know, like, of course that's a generalization, but that's a lot of what we're seeing.
Now, what I would love to know, it's one of our key questions, when you put employees first, when you have to just have a positive attitude, what has been your hardest day as a leader? And then again, of course, end with your best day so far during this.
The hardest day was the decision to close the spas back in March, because, you know, it didn't really feel like a choice. It was the right thing to do for all we knew and didn't know, and for safety, but I knew what that meant for our teams. And like, for me, that was heartbreaking. And I made that decision, and soon after I too was furloughed. And so, you know, I was out for 3 months, and that's hard. It's hard.
Yes, welcome back.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's so good to be back. Yeah, you know, that unknown, that uncertainty is really, really hard for people. And that was a very hard day. And I'd have to say my best day personally was coming back to work. But since then, it's been, you know, the sprinkling every month of my spa directors coming back, their teams coming back. It's, you know, it's not easy coming back. You know, the world has changed, but they are so grateful to be back. And I'm so grateful to have them back and to be kind of doing what we do again. It's been really rewarding.
Well, also, I mean, let's be real. People could be on unemployment, but it certainly isn't as fulfilling. And the mental challenges people have of you know, not knowing. So when they can come back, also in the hotel industry, the primary service is heads in beds, right? You don't really need a spa to be a hotel. So the fact that Hilton said, no, we're going to still make that a priority, that's kind of encouraging, don't you think?
It's really encouraging, and it's really exciting. I think, kind of to what I said about you know, leisure being a primary focus, resorts being a primary focus. You know, people want to get out and have safe, sometimes largely outdoor experiences, right? So that, and the fact that our guests are spending more time on property because they want to feel safe.
Yeah.
It's like all of that's a recipe for spa. It's a recipe for ancillary spend on property. It's a recipe for using the food and beverage outlets, for using for shopping on property in the retail outlets, for using golf attached to a hotel. So there's been a huge shift in focus, I think, in the industry, and certainly within Hilton, to say, hey, we've always, you know, in the way past, we thought of these things as amenities. Now we know they are revenue drivers, especially, as I mentioned, with this well-minded traveler who wants to make use of them all. So I think we really look at it with much greater importance than we did, you know, 5 years ago, which is
I love
awesome.
that. If you stay on property, you're going to use the amenities. All right. Someone wrote us, and we need to ask you, since your purvey is fitness, what trends are you seeing in fitness offerings at hotels through this?
Well, it's been interesting. It's been sort of a, you know, it's been kind of, it started one place and it keeps evolving. I think first was, okay, we need them closed because we don't know what's happening. And then it was opening safely and opening with physical distancing. And now I think it goes back to what I was saying about the practices that a lot of people have kind of nurtured during this time at home. They've changed the face of something like fitness, I think, for the long term. I think, of course, fitness spaces, clubs, centers will always have a place, but this move to digital fitness and virtual fitness is here to stay, I believe. And, you know, having fitness in the palm of your hand and kind of having fitness your way, where you want it, when you want it, I think that that's here to stay. So we are looking at all of those technological you know, inroads to making sure we deliver fitness to our guests that is digital and where they want it, and, you know, potentially in room, outside, again, fitness outside the four walls of what we traditionally thought of it as.
So are you saying yoga outside and things like that, weather permitting, in your hotels? Are you seeing
Absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And even more so, you know, the equipment that's purpose built for outside, for example, you know, walking running maps, of course, around the hotels, you know, things that are going to get people out to explore and exercise. I mean, it's so important to people, and maybe more important than ever. So we don't want to cut that off. We want to support it.
Right. Oh, I can't agree more. So what would you say that someone deep in this spa industry, even if they own their own day spa, what could they learn from what you've been through, Jessica, through this as a corporate representative?
I think that you have to, you know, listen to the industry. There's some great resources out there. You know, iSpa in particular has been great. Global Wellness has been amazing, you know, that have put a lot of thought and a lot of energy and resources behind how we tackle this. So that's where you start. And then once you get going, listen to your team, listen to your guests. You know, what is the demand? What are they looking for? How do they want to function? What were we doing before that wasn't working, that maybe we have an opportunity to rethink and restart and do right now? I think technology is a perfect example. Look at me, I didn't even know how to do Instagram Live. So we've always
so
been
proud.
We haven't really always been great at the technology piece, but it's more important than ever. Like, quick example, I mentioned the Hotel Dell when they opened, and I've always been a huge advocate for online booking for spa, but you know, it's not often as adopted as quickly as we'd like. Well, the Hotel Dell, because they had sort of limited resources in their call center, which normally took spa reservations, opened with only online booking for the first week or 2 weeks. So every piece of collateral, all their social media, everything that went out was only directing people online, and the demand far exceeded their expectation. And since they reopened their call center, that demand has shifted, but it's now more like 50-50, which before online booking maybe accounted for 10 to 20%. So something like that, where we can take how we've had to adapt as an industry and push some of those trends or initiatives, like fast track them, I think is really what we can take away from, and making sure we're listening to team, listening to guests, and being agile. We can't be, you know, stuck and stubborn. We have to really move and shift.
Yeah, I always say, if you're not listening to your guest or your customer, you're talking to yourself. And what good does that do? Also, when you guys are seeing fitness classes outside, are there any protocols, like if you stay 6 feet apart and you're doing yoga, this whole thing, do you have people wear masks during the class, or do you know that?
I think it kind of varies by location, by county guidance and things like that. But generally speaking, yes. I mean, we were, as a company, Hilton requires masks in all public spaces in our hotels, and that's outdoor too. So yeah.
Well, I think we have to get some mask contests. I just heard the Global Wellness Summit has a masquerade ball last night, and I just went to a meeting and I had the blue, like surgical, because my husband works at a hospital, and they're all like, Kim, raise it up a notch. Don't just wear that. So
Gotta up the mask game.
I really gotta up it. Okay, now, Miss Jessica, what book, podcast, TED Talk, anything like that has inspired you through this?
I think through this, one of the things I've learned about myself is I really take a mindful, mindless bookend approach to my day. So I think I start out trying to engage in my mindfulness practices. I've been reading Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach. She's one of my favorite Buddhist teachers. Sort of kind of fine tuning the instrument to deal with whatever comes your way during the day, and then more of a mindless approach at the end of the day, whether that be binging, Netflix, or looking at Reese Witherspoon's book club to find some fiction that I can just dive into. I think you got to balance both.
Can I steal that, mindful and mindless? Might I recommend My Octopus Teacher on Netflix? I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Really good.
It's great for a cry, because you're like, if an invertebrate could have that much personality, what are we missing in life? Talk about mindfulness, Yeah.
Yeah.
So also, that we could talk and talk for days, but tell me, Jessica, number one, where do you live? So everyone that's listening can know you're not some corporate nerd in a high rise in Chicago or whatever.
Oh yeah, no, I am kind of a corporate nerd, but I get to nerd out in Missoula, Montana, which is a really, really awesome place to live.
Okay, I'm not jealous. I'm just in Los Angeles, but tell me also where your child goes to school. Let them hear.
So, we had to make some tough decisions, as so many parents had to this year, with in-school hybrid. She's 5 years old, so hybrid kindergarten. We do it a little bit online, but it's a little bit of a mess. So we were lucky enough that a few teachers in the community started a peaceful heart yoga-based kindergarten program in a heated outdoor tent for about 6 kids. And it's like in a yard with chickens and apple trees and, I don't know, a mud kitchen. So she's a very, very happy little girl.
I just want to go there.
Very lucky.
I really want to go there. So someone said fitness tips for your kids at home. Find a yurt and do some yoga and a mud kitchen. Okay. Tell us, as we wrap this up, Miss Jess, what gives you hope every day? What do you think?
Again, I kind of go back to, I really feel like people have developed some healthy practices during this time, and kind of quieting out the noise and having to focus on what's important, I think helps each one of us connect more deeply with kind of our inner compass and our inner guide. And, we learn when to push and when to pause a little bit better. And I think that we really need to, each of us, kind of tap into that and elevate the level of consciousness. I have faith in people. I have faith in kindness and the goodness of people. And I have hope that, that's what's going to get us through this. And in a way that this time of pause will help, solve some of the bigger challenges that have been thrown at us. So that gives me hope.
You and I could never have talked on a split screen in the middle of the day before. I mean, think on the bright side. And we'll never forget it. It's like when I was little, we had to interview my grandmother for what it was like in 1912 or whatever. And, all the archives of the pandemic in 1918 will be there and be saying it. And Jess, thanks for being such a great example. You were furloughed, you're back and shining. We know the future is bright. This thing, human ingenuity, we will get through it. We will come out the other side, believe it or not. So thanks for being there, helping pull us through.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support and the love.
And we hope to see you virtually or in person at the Global Wellness Summit in a couple of weeks, okay?
I'll be there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.